Hi everybody, Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT so you can eliminate self-sabotage and take the actions that you want. This episode is, again, a part of our 9-part series on healing fundamentals. These are the thoughts and dispositions that I have found to be really useful in taking your tapping to the next level after you know the basics of tapping by understanding problems through these lenses or having these dispositions when you're tapping with yourself or someone else. It is going to make a huge difference that's going to allow you to go much deeper with the healing and much further, much quicker with the tapping. You'll be able to find a link to all of the episodes in the show notes, or the easiest way to make sure that you're not missing out on any of the goodness is to subscribe to the podcast. In podcasting parlance, subscribe is free. You can subscribe to the show in Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or anywhere you get audio. Just search Tapping Q&A. This is G. Montra and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 467, originally aired June 24th, 2020. Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today we are going to talk about and tap around the idea of how and why we respond the way that we do when we perceive that we are being dismissed or we are being ignored, and kind of why that happens and what we can do about it. Before we jump into that, just a quick reminder, we have a free 10-part guide on how you can use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button. If you happen to be listening to the show right now in the website, up in the top of that right-hand column, you will also see a blue button. Click on it, and we will get you that 10-part guide so that you can take action much easier by using a little tapping. The second thing I'd like to do is thank all of the amazing supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. These are people who have decided to support the work that we are doing financially so that you continue to get this high-quality program absolutely free. And those who support the show actually get a number of really amazing bonuses. One of the things that they do is they get early access to things that I'm offering. Very, very soon, I'm going to be offering my next round of trainings, and I'm really excited about what this is going to look like. And all of the supporters are going to get first shot at that because of the nature of the training event, where there's going to be lots of one-on-one work with me and small group and feedback in the work that you're doing so you're getting better at tapping. I'm going to have very limited seating for that, and supporters are going to get first shot at that. The idea and the need to really think about this idea of being dismissed and ignored has come up a lot recently in my client sessions. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to include it in these healing fundamentals, is because it's a topic that comes up over and over again. And it's more than just this human desire to connect. The reason why it is so tricky is because when we are dismissed or when we are ignored or when we are seen as less than, it's not just getting us in one way. That we have the opportunity to be wounded by that interpretation, or actually what is happening, in multiple different ways. And as I was starting to break this apart, I started to think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'm sure somewhere along the way in a psychology class or a human class or biology class or something, you were introduced to this. But basically what Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that we meet our needs from the most base need to the most sophisticated need in that order. And so there are two basic needs, the most primitive being physiological needs. That's food, water, warmth, rest, place to live. The second level, as part of that basic needs, are safety needs. That's safety and security. After we move out of the basic needs, we move into the psychological needs. That's belongingness and love. That shows up as our friendships, our relationships. Esteem needs, where we get a sense of esteem and feeling like we are worthwhile. And then finally at the top are those self-fulfillment needs, where that's self-actualization, where we get a real sense of who we are as a human creature and really live to our fullest. And the reality of dealing with a sense of belonging and being rejected or dismissed by others, we actually get hit on multiple levels of those needs. That it shows up in the basic needs and it shows up in the psychological needs. And so let's look at both of those individually. So in the terms of the basic needs, and over the course of the last couple of months, I've been really talking about this a lot because I've been talking about it a lot with my clients. And when these things come up a lot with my clients, I think they're useful for all of us. The basic safety needs are around this idea that our very, very, very primitive ancestors, thousands and thousands of years ago, needed the tribe to survive. Because the world was a much more dangerous place because we were much less technologically civilized, particularly when we were nomadic people. And so if we were in a situation where we were pushed outside of the tribe, we would die. And we would literally die. I'm not using the word literally incorrectly. I'm using the word literally. And what that did was it created this desire for us to belong. Because if we didn't belong, we died. And so today, when we encounter the worry or proof in our life that we do not belong to a group, this very, very primitive part of ourselves fires off because it is worried that we are going to die. Now, most of the times when we are in situations where someone does not accept us or someone doesn't like us or they dismiss the work that we are doing, we're probably not going to die. But if our emotional guidance system internally on a biochemical level, if we are responding as if we are going to die, clearly we are not going to be making the best choices in that particular moment because that fear is going to overwhelm everything else. Because fear always wins. Fear is such a primary emotion, it takes over everything else. But at the exact same time as a modern person, when it comes to having our psychological needs met, we want to belong. We want to have friendship. We want to have intimate connections. We want to have accomplishment. We want to be seen as having some standing. And so when we feel like we are being dismissed, and it's not that we just don't belong, but being dismissed saying that we're not worthy of being in the group, because of who we are or what we represent or what we do, we now get the opportunity to feel the sting of those psychological needs as well. And so that's the reason why when we're tapping for and we're dealing with this idea of being dismissed and ignored is such a tricky issue to work with, is because we're getting an emotional charge both coming and going. That we're getting an emotional charge from the base level of our needs, of this primitive need to belong so we don't die for safety's sake, and we get to feel the sting of not having connection and relationship and standing and esteem in a community. And there are times in which we feel as if it is not right for us to want to belong. You know, there's all sorts of social media posts and clever quotes about how we just need to be our authentic selves and do what is important to us. And if people don't like us, then they don't have to worry about it. And we should dance like no one is watching. And on some level, I can appreciate that. Like, we do need to live authentic lives. I am a significantly happier and healthier person when I am living authentically, even if my authentic self isn't something that is accepted by everyone. But it does not mean I am weak, and it does not mean I am doing something wrong if I don't long for human connection. Because you'll notice when Maslow is talking about needs, he's using the word need. It's not a psychological want. It's not a self-fulfillment want. It's not a basic want. It's a need. It's something that implies necessity. I have had this starkly shown to me so clearly over the course of here in New York City, where we were one of the first places to experience quarantine and we're one of the last places to open up in any particular way, that I went 2 months without touching another human being. And I did not realize, like, I know I am a touchy-feely person. I know that physical affection is one of my love languages. I know how much I appreciate that. I did not fully understand. I could pay lip service to it, but I did not fully understand how contact with other humans was a need. That I was less healthy because I was not having that sort of physical engagement and that sort of physical touch. And so when we are being rejected, it hurts. And then we get the opportunity to beat ourselves up for feeling bad about wanting to connect with others and wanting to be accepted, when the truth is it's okay to want that and it's okay to have a need about that. The tricky part is having it be proportionate. If I'm in a situation where I present an idea and a colleague rejects it, if I go spinning out of control in the exact same way as if I have no one in the world who loves me and appreciates me, that's probably a disproportionate response. And so as we are navigating this thought in the sense of rejection and being ignored by others, it's not that we're trying to completely remove the emotion of that desire or remove the sting of not having that desire met. Because when our needs aren't met, there is a sting. But instead, it's about moving it to a place that is proportionate, that is well-informed, that makes sense for what we are experiencing in our life. So before we start tapping, just recap a little bit. Being ignored, being disconnected from other humans, being rejected is a painful thing. And it is okay that it is a painful thing. Part of the reason why it is so painful is that sense of disconnection hits on us on multiple levels of our needs. It hits on the sense around safety and being inside of the tribe. It hits on us not feeling like we are connected. It feels like us not being appreciated for the things that we do. And it is okay for those things to hurt, but the goal of our tapping is to put ourselves into a position where the sting that we are feeling is proportionate to the level of disconnection that we are feeling. So what we're going to do now is just take a few moments and just tap on that to get ourselves a little more comfortable with that feeling and doing it in a way that feels proportionate and connected to what is going on. So to begin with, what I want you to do is I want you to tap on the side of the hand and just take a nice big deep breath for me. And just keep tapping on the side of the hand and take one more nice big deep breath for me. And we're just going to move from tapping point to tapping point, and I want you to repeat after me. I recognize the fact that I have needs. I need to feel the connection with other humans. And that need for connection shows up on many levels. I need to feel safe. I need to have loving relationships. I need to be appreciated for who I am. It is really painful when we are rejected by others. It is really painful when we are dismissed by others. It is painful because there is a part of us that fears being pushed to the outside. When our ancestors were pushed to the outside, they faced death. Therefore, this very primitive part of me fears death. I appreciate the fact that this part of me is afraid. I also recognize the fact that being dismissed by others is probably not going to lead to physical death. I recognize the fact that I really want to have deep, meaningful relationships. Relationships that give me support. Relationships that give me encouragement. relationships that help me to grow and transform. When I am dismissed by others, it hurts. Because I'm missing those types of relationships. The pain that I feel when that happens is just pointing out the need for that type of relationship. Even if I don't have it in this moment in the way that I want, I know it is possible for me to have these types of relationships. It is possible for me to find them, to foster them, and to grow them. When my work is dismissed by others, it feels like they are rejecting me. Because I put my time and my energy into my work. I try to be fully present in my work. I give so much of who I am in my work. When people are dismissing my work, it feels like they are dismissing my worth. It is okay to want to be appreciated. It is okay to want to be acknowledged. At the same time, my worth and value is not determined by how the person in front of me is responding to my work in this moment. It is possible for me to recognize that desire without having that desire define who I am and how I navigate the world. Rejection is hard. Being dismissed is painful. It is very human to want connection and support. I give myself permission to recognize those needs without being defined by those needs. Nice deep breath. You can see, even just in, 5.5 minutes of tapping, how complicated this particular issue is. And so if you are in a situation where you're really struggling with a sense of not feeling acknowledged and worthy and being dismissed and rejected, I'd really encourage you to look at it through each of those lenses individually. Where are the places that you're not feeling safe? Where are the places where you're feeling like your relationship needs are not being met? And where are the places where your esteem needs are not being met? And to tease them apart. This is also one of those issues that it's really easy for us to be way too close to have a real sense of perspective. And that might be one of the reasons why I'm spending so much time with my clients tapping on this particular issue. Is even as experienced tappers who tap regularly on their own, they are bumping into the reality of how hard it is to tease this particular one apart. So if you're stuck with something like this would be the perfect thing for you to reach out to the tapping practitioner that you trust. If you don't have a tapping practitioner to work with, I am working with clients right now, and I'd love to be helpful. If you're interested in having a conversation about that, I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. If you know someone in your life who would appreciate this tapping and this conversation, please be our ambassador. Pass it along. Don't spam your inbox and send it to every single person in the world. But if you know someone in your life who could really use this perspective, pass it along. It might make their day a little brighter, and you're going to reach people that I am never going to reach. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the show. Subscribing to podcasts are always free. You can subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. If you do happen to listen to the show in the Google Podcast app, send me a note. I have some questions about that particular experience, as that is a new app, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. If you're on the website, you can click the contact link and send me information through that as well. If you have a topic you'd like us to tap on, if you have a guest you'd like me to interview, please let me know. I'm doing a whole bunch of interviews right now to get stuff ready for the summer and the fall, and I just did a couple of them today, and I can't wait to share them with you. They're really, really amazing things. The two interviews today, I ended both of them going, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And I love when I have the opportunity to grow in my tapping experience, which I hope you do as well. So if you have a topic or someone you want me to talk to, let me know. Gene, Gene, at Tapping Q&A. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.